All right. Today we're going to be talking about all of the planets in the second house in astrology, giving you the full meaning explained. We're going to be first talking about the physical manifestations, how each planet affects the physical aspects of the second house, then the psychological aspects of the second house. And within each one of them, we're going to be talking about the light and the shadow manifestations. Okay? And as we said before in the last video, because we're doing the series, we're doing all 12 houses, all the planets in all 12 houses. Each planet represents a different piece of the collective unconscious, an archetypal energy, God, conscious agent, or a different part of your psyche. And so you just take the sun or each planet, which symbolizes each archetype, is like the tangible marker, put it in second house, which represents a certain area of your life. So you take the king, the father, the leader, the masculine, most masculine planet, steadfast and consistent, initiates, planet of your destiny. You put it in the second house. The physical manifestation. How does this manifest physically? Well, second house represents your resources, your speech, your responsibilities, your immediate family, food, and the face. But we'll focus mostly on responsibilities and the face and speech. So when you have the sun there in a light manifestation, meaning in a more positive, sustainable manifestation, you have somebody who is consistent with their finances, is stable with their finances, is firm, meaning there's not a lot of frivolous spending, and they allocate their finances or their money, their wealth, towards things that fuel their destiny, or their wealth is part of their destiny, because wherever you take the sun, it's also the destiny. But the king, the father, the leader, so somebody who is consistent, persistent in a way, and stable in the way that they use their finances, is confident, gaining resources, handling their responsibilities, confident in the way that they speak. That is a healthy manifestation of the sun in the second. I have my sun in the second house. And so being consistent in the way that I speak and being able to present a, let's say, kingly or leader type speech is important to develop it in a healthy way. But also being consistent with finances. The shadow manifestation is inconsistency with finances. I've had trouble with this. Being able to fund your destiny or allocate your resources towards things that are actually part of your destiny or part of your kingdom or part of your responsibilities as a masculine conscious agent. Because we all have our own masculine and feminine manifestations. This is not only for, and when it comes to the sun, obviously, we all have a sun. So even if you're a woman, being consistent in your finances, right? Being a leader, taking charge, but being consistent and taking initiative. These are all things the sun represents in a physical sense. Psychological sense, well, as we talked about when we talked about all the houses in the previous series for these psychological meanings of each house, Arta succedent house, it's a material house that's related to your self-worth. So one's core identity is linked to their self-worth in a positive manifestation. When you say you're going to do something and you do it, that increases your self-worth. So your self-confidence and your self-worth are inextricably linked. How you value yourself is very dependent on your solar qualities, on your core identity, taking initiative and fulfilling your destiny. Things that the sun means, or sun represents. The shadow side is somebody who's inconsistent, insecure, shifting their core identity, don't know who they are, and that also affects self-worth and how one values themselves. If they don't know who they are, they don't know how to value themselves. If they're inconsistent in their presentation, if they're inconsistent in their core identity, then they feel insecure and then they value themselves less. This is usually how they're tied together, because the shadow, as I said before in the last video, is at the extremes. Now somebody can be overly consistent, too firm, too authoritative with their finances, right? It can be too structured or overly focused on only spending things that work for their destinies, but not fulfilling their own needs, which is what the moon is supposed to focus on. Being too duty focused and kingly with their resources, or psychologically being overly restrictive, meaning overly reliant on following through on everything they say, or being too rigid, not being adaptable enough, not thinking of oneself, and that can harm one's self-worth because they think, I have to fulfill my duty, I have to fulfill my destiny, or I'm not worthy. Understand? So that's how you have like this balance, this like light shadow manifestation. Because again, you have the king in the second house. Your destiny is in the second house of the resources, responsibilities, immediate family, and the speech. And this is where you are a leader. This is your kingdom, the second house. If you have sun here, or if you know somebody who has sun here, or if you have a Leo here. Because when I talk about the planets, you can also gently apply the same things I talk about when it comes to the planets with the signs that they rule. The planets are going to be more intense. They're going to be more prominent. They're going to be more visceral because it's a conscious part of your being, your psyche, where the signs are the unconscious manifestations, which we'll get into when we talk about the signs after we're done with the houses, which comes next. So that is what sun in the second house, that's how it manifests. And these are all just general descriptions, right? There's a lot more different significations for each of these archetypes. These are just a bare bones general overview. Also, aspects will affect it. The sign will affect it. And the Lord and wherever that, the ruler of the second house is going to affect it. And this is the case for all the different houses. So this is not, hard and fast rule. This is going to necessarily exactly, perfectly align with you or the people you're looking at. But it's just a general foundational framework, giving you the bare bones so you can build on top of it for your own curiosity or for your own work or wherever you're using this for, okay? So the moon in the second house, she is the queen, she is the mother, she is the inner child, or you as a young child, she is the feminine. The moon is the most feminine planet, the queen. So physically speaking, emotions affect your responsibilities, your wealth, and your speech. It's about seeing what feels right when it comes to how you are fulfilling your responsibilities. Also, the moon, wherever it goes, it's where you feel comfortable. And so, managing your finances, taking care of your responsibilities, taking care of your immediate responsibilities and family that you feel responsible for, that makes you feel good. That's how you regulate your emotions. That's your comfort zone, wherever the moon is. Sun is your destiny. Moon is your comfort zone. So you bring that comfort zone over to the second house. Also, speaking with other people can be comfortable for you. Now, this is the lighter manifestation, the shadow manifestation of this second house in the physical sense for the moon is becoming emotionally dependent on one's finances or emotionally attached, needing one's finances, external responsibility, the material security to be stable for one's emotions to be stable. Now, that's a lot of us, right? If we're broke, you're going to feel some type of way, but when moon is here, very emotionally sensitive to material security, to one's responsibilities, to one's resources, to one's finances. Okay? Also, I forgot to mention with the sun can give a very solid, strong, powerful face, stronger jaw. Moon can make a more round face because again, second house is the physical manifestation. It's the face, not a hard and fast rule. And also depends on other planets too that are in the second house as well. So for the moon, psychologically speaking, well, it's that self-worth, the way we value ourselves. Okay? The moon, meaning one's emotions, very much inextricably linked to how one values oneself. That means the emotions are very, very valuable. You have to feel good, or if you feel bad, that also is how you attach the value to yourself and how you feel about your self-worth. And also about getting your needs met. You're getting your needs met through your material security. And if you don't get your emotional needs met, your internal feelings validated, feel less valuable. Okay? Now, if the moon is strong, you're able to get your needs met and you're able to regulate your emotions. So that value is powerful and that value is solid and stable. It just depends how you're manifesting it. Because again, the shadows are the extremes. Healthy is in the middle. So having that balanced of material security and emotional comforts and getting your needs met, having that nice symbiotic balance where, moon on one end is you neglect your emotions to fulfill your material security, your material responsibilities, get your finances in order, you reject your own feelings to handle your shit. Or the opposite is you only handle your shit, you only handle your finances when you feel like it, when it feels right. Okay? That's the shadow manifestation, psychologically speaking. And usually the moon in the second creates a nice material atmosphere because one is able to take care of one's responsibilities. One focuses on what one needs to focus on. I have a close family member, former client as well, moon in the second, very good at taking care of their needs, their material needs at a basic level. Just naturally responsible. So moon does well in a vacuum in the second. We have Mars here. Now, Mars in the second, when it manifests in a physical sense, can be somebody who is willful in regards to their responsibilities, their finances, their wealth, and with their speech, can have a sharper speech, can have more abrasive speech. Moon can have a softer, even like lighter speech, even feminine. Sun, more, solid, consistent, can have a confident speech, but also can be inconsistent depending on the quality. But Mars can have a sharper, more cutting speech. A person I know intimately has Mars in the second, and she can have a sharp speech. But you get the point. Now, when it comes to finances, there can be impulsiveness, there can be impulsive spending, or there can be an ability to deal with financial problems or deal with responsibilities in a Martian way. Because you have the warrior, the general, the pioneer, able to use one's will, direct, be independent in one's finances, be responsible independently, can make a very financially independent, strong-willed individual who knows what they need to do to get their material security set and in shape and in order. Strong Mars there does great. Any strong planet there can do well. Saturn can make it a little difficult, if I'm being honest with you. Or if you had, Rahu there, Ketu there, North Node, South Node, but we're not going to be talking about those in this series. So, psychologically speaking, again, self-worth, how we value ourselves, right? The worth that we give to ourselves is intrinsic, inherent to human beings. Mars there is, the light side is, when you take care of problems, when you overcome challenges, when you overcome obstacles and enemies, you feel good about yourself. And you're able to do it. Able to manage the material responsibilities you have in this incarnation. And you feel valuable. You can take care of yourself and deal with anything that comes in your way that you need to overcome, destroy, tackle. Shadow side is, like I said before, impulsive or overly reliant on one's anger or on being combative, meaning you only feel valuable if you're exerting your will, or if you're exerting your anger in a way, or expressing your anger is probably a better way of saying that, or if you're in the pioneer warrior role, it can be hard to turn that off because that's what makes you feel, worthy and valuable. And so Mars can make somebody who can have a combative speech, can express themselves in a combative way, and if they lose a battle, if they can't overcome a problem, if they can't overcome an obstacle or an enemy, they don't feel worthy. They don't feel valuable. And that's the shadow manifestation. With Mercury here, you have scientist, the observer, the detective, the intellect. You place that in the second house. You have somebody comes to the physical manifestation, someone who's using their intellect, their scientific experimentation mind, their observing mind, their objective analytical mind to acquire resources, to manage the resources, right? Can be supportive, right? Somebody who is able to strategize and handle their responsibilities in a material sense in a intelligent, strategic, thought out way without letting emotions get in the way, but just getting to the bottom line, right? That's positive. Negative is somebody who could be overthinking when it comes to their finances, their responsibilities, can talk too much. Also, because again, the second house is our speech, can be overly detached, overly cerebral when it comes to finances or wealth, or only wants to manage their responsibilities, only wants to deal with the things they need to for their material security when they have a plan or when they've thought things through. And can be the opposite of Mars in a way of being overly thoughtful, overly analytical. Mars can be overly impulsive and spend or try to deal with their finances, their responsibilities without thinking. Mercury can think too much, overthink it, do too much thinking, too much analysis, not following the intuition, doing what feels right, or the moon, or their duty, their destiny, the sun, but what they think is right. And as we know, the intellect is very limited in its scope. It can only get you so far. But because the second house is a material house, it's an art house, Mercury usually does well there, okay? Psychologically speaking, again, self-worth. So, somebody who will be analyzing things, will feel valuable when they are experimenting, or when they are able to make a plan that helps people, or when they're able to, communicate things in an effective way, or use their Mercury in an effective way. That's how they feel valuable, is using their Mercury. They feel valuable using their Mercury. And that can be good, or it can be an over-reliance on the intellect. Again, it can be a situation where they feel like they need to analyze things to feel a value, to feel worthy. All right? Now, as the shadow manifestation. But the scientist, the observer, the detective, the intellect is being utilized, being placed in the second house of your material security, material resources, responsibilities. Then we have Venus, put it in the second house. I have Venus here, full disclosure. And Venus here, and then also with Mercury, my apologies, youthful face as well. Can have a youthful, balanced face, can make an attractive individual from a physical standpoint. Not necessarily an internally attractive person, right? So we got Venus there, we got the diplomat, the partner, the pleaser, the relating part of one's psyche, the part that likes to relate and exchange with the outside, likes to be agreeable. Put that in the second house, so one's speech can be agreeable, one's face can be beautiful or elegant, if it's in decent shape, because obviously it depends on dignity and aspects and conjunctions and those things. Venus also, when it comes to your wealth, responsibilities, your resources, will take a more balanced approach, will, think things through, will see both sides, right? And again, I forgot to mention the signs, but you can look at the signs too that each planet rules will have somewhat similar signification. The natural second sign is Venus. So having that material security is really important, right? And Venus is all about the senses too. So using one's senses, making the right choice. Venus is all about choices and exchanging. So one can have trade or exchange to handle one's responsibilities. Hiring people to help handle the responsibility, to help carry the load, to help carry that weight. Or get relationships, relating with other people to handle one's responsibilities, to gain that material security through relationships or through partnering with people with Venus in a more physical sense. Psychologically speaking, you got the planet of self-worth in the house of self-worth, the way one's value oneself. So when somebody is able to relate to people and exchange with people in a win-win harmonious way, they feel valuable. Their self-worth is in the house of self-worth, or their planet of self-worth is in the planet of self. So it's, there's a natural alignment there. And so there's a natural congruence of when you take care of your responsibilities, you make the right choices, you take care of your relationships, and you're able to, provide things of value, to receive things of value. These are all Venus things. You feel valuable. Very on the nose, very straightforward. Using your diplomacy, using your ability to please others, to be agreeable, being able to relate to other people, rapport, another Venusian concept, rapport. But negative manifestations is somebody whose relationships get in the way of their finances or their responsibilities, or they don't want to take care of other people, or they're more self-centered. Psychologically speaking, when it comes to self-worth, they are not able to make the right choices, and so they feel insecure. And then less insecure is the right word, because that's more the sun and confidence, but they don't feel valuable because they can't take care of themselves, right? They made the wrong choice. Now they can't take care of their responsibilities. They don't have enough money. They don't have enough material resources. They don't have the finances to take care of themselves and the things that they want to be taken care of, the people around them they want to be taken care of. So they don't feel valuable. They don't feel worthy. But ironically enough, that is naturally how self-worth works, is being worthwhile, being valuable to yourself, being able to take care of yourself and the things you feel responsible for. That is directly linked to your self-worth and your value and people taking care of you responsibly. So also Venus, people didn't take care of you or didn't treat you like something that was valuable if you have an afflicted shadow manifestation of Venus in the second. Okay? So different aspects. Physically, finances suffer because you make poor choices and bad mistakes. Psychologically, you're not able to harmonize, you're not able to have success in your relationships, and so that affects your self-worth, your value. You're not able to take care of your responsibilities. Now we go to Jupiter. Again, wherever Jupiter goes, it expands things, it brings wisdom and fortune and luck to that area. It can also bring pride and arrogance as well, overconfidence, taking things for granted. But resources, right? This rich people, Bill Gates has Jupiter in the second house. I believe Donald Trump has Jupiter in the second house. So it can bring abundance, it can bring fortune, it can bring luck and inherent wisdom when it comes to managing finances, managing resources, taking care of one's responsibilities. And that's usually the lighter manifestation. The negative manifestation, physically speaking, the physical manifestations of the second house is greed, arrogance, overconfidence in one's responsibilities, resources, finances, wealth. Okay? It can provide larger features on the face or just make a big face, right? Because, that's where Jupiter is. It could also make an attractive face, physically speaking, or, as God giveth, it can take it away. An unattractive face, if it's afflicted, you get the point. I don't want to get too much into the looks aspect, but you understand what I mean. You could do the same thing with every other planet when it comes to light shadow. But more so focusing on finances, it can be, overly confident and arrogant with one's finances and wealth, spending too much, or being too greedy, being too austere, in the sense that, not giving it to others or not being able to share the wealth, share the abundance with Jupiter in the second house. Very close to the vest with one's finances, if that's the shadow manifestation. For the psychology, self-worth, being able to see the bigger picture, being able to share one's wisdom, to guide, because guru, priest, philosopher, guide, Jupiter is, that's the archetypes. Keep forgetting to go through the archetypes for Jupiter. I don't know why. But yeah, he's the guru, he's the priest, he's the philosopher, guide. And so those things will be playing those roles, stepping into those roles, doing those things for oneself and people around you, especially your immediate family, which is what the second house represents, or the people you feel responsible for. So like your best friends or your closest friends that feel like family, your close family, that's the second house. So playing that role for your family and friends, being able to share wisdom makes you feel valuable, makes you feel worthwhile. All right? Handling your responsibilities, taking care of your responsibilities, makes you feel worthwhile, makes you feel valuable. Being able to see the bigger picture, to tap into something bigger than yourself, Jupiter, makes you feel worthwhile, makes you feel valuable. Or negative manifestation is inflating one's self-worth, believing that you are the best thing since sliced cheese, even if you didn't really do anything to deserve it, right? That can be an inflated self-worth. Wherever Jupiter goes, he inflates, expands things, and it can be in a healthy way, in a beneficial way, full of abundance, or it can be in a negative way. Just depends, okay? So that could be the shadow manifestation is, this inflated self-worth, inflated value, not being able to, handle your responsibilities, but still feeling like you're the shit, right? You're not taking care of your responsibilities because Jupiter in the second house and the Lord is afflicted, but you still feel like, big man on campus or big girl on campus, however you want to put it, is a way that it can manifest. If afflicted, the shadow manifestation. And then we go to Saturn. I had worked with a couple people with Saturn in the second because obviously people come to astrologers for wealth readings. And when you have Saturn in the second, it can your wealth, it can affect it and in uncomfortable ways, and it can bring self-doubt, right? So you have the servant, the elderly, the authority, the shadow. You bring the shadow, servants, hard work, elderly, patience, long time, right? Authority, restriction, discipline. And then shadow, insecurity, self-doubt, fears. Saturn, all these things, you put that in the second house. If your wealth, resources, responsibilities will have insecurities around wealth and abundance and handling your responsibilities. We'll have to be disciplined. We'll have to persevere. We'll have to be patient wherever Saturn goes. It's a difficult malefic. Got to be patient wherever Saturn goes. And so in regards to your self-worth, your valuables, got to keep going. Got to do the work. Like I said, it's people don't want to hear it when Saturn's in the second. People, especially nowadays, right? In this economy, Saturn in second house can be especially tough. Because it's all relative. It's all relative. Your chart is going to be relative to your station in life, right? Because there's still that room for free will. That's still that room for randomness that, in this incarnation, in this dimension, we don't know all the different permutations and you're not going to be able to see everything in the chart. There's still room for free will and growth and all those things. So it's all relative. So relative to the people in your station, in your field, in your level, funds will be more tight, relatively speaking. But this can create discipline, austerity, frugalness, but in like a positive way, meaning when you're spending your money or you're doing a good job spending your money. But Saturn usually, it's going to create somebody who be very thoughtful, probably have some insecurities, some scarcity around their money, so they're not going to be overly spendy with it. And then when it comes, and not greedy, because actually, funny enough, an afflicted Jupiter can be more greedy than Saturn. Saturn's just more like times are tough. I gotta lock in. I gotta make sure that I'm paying for what I have to. Jupiter's like, I want all the money for myself. Like I'm the shit, so I just deserve all the wealth. Saturn's more like, I but do not have enough shillings for bread. It's kind of like, please, sir, can I have some more? Like there's like it's coming from more of a scarcity mindset as opposed to an arrogant, self-important part, which is more Jupiter. Saturn is like, yeah, there's like, I need this money, whatever. Even if you have a lot of money, it's just the mental perspective of, but I have to spend it on these things and I have all this nice car, right? There's always this feeling of like, there's a tightness on the wallet with Saturn in the second. Psychologically speaking, self-worth, there can be self-doubts. There can be insecurities around one's self-worth, meaning needing to feel like one isn't worthy of abundance or of opulence or extravagance or too much, right? Feeling like there's more of a minimalist and constrictive mindset. And with Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces gives a little bit of that for Jupiter. And then for Saturn, Capricorn, Aquarius. So the same thing can be said for the signs. When I'm saying these things about Jupiter, all the planets, Saturn, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, can slightly apply to if that planet or if that sign that planet rules is holding the second cusp or is in the second house. So Saturn, psychologically speaking, yeah, there's going to be some restrictions. There can be a feeling like one needs to persevere, prove oneself, to do a lot of hard work to gain that self-approval, that value. And like anything with Saturn, even though it can cause pain and suffering, insecurity, self-doubt, a lot of negative things, it's the shadow. It also can create greatness if you persevere, if you work through it, if you face it, if you deal with it. And so somebody who is very conscientious, very mindful, very thoughtful with their finances, feels a sense of self-value because they've done the hard work to take care of their responsibilities and the people they feel responsible for. The value that they feel is real. It's not inflated. It's not based off the way that they look or other people's opinions. It's not based off their intellect or their ability to overcome obstacles or their athleticism or their transient feelings in the moment, or how people treat them, or their duty or destiny, which can also be decently aligned. But the value is based off of reality, what they've actually done. Saturn is a realist. It is the most realistic planet. No fluff, no foo-foo, no circus, just cold, hard reality. And so they're able to face the cold, hard reality in regards to their responsibilities, and they feel valuable because of the things they've been able to overcome, the suffering they've been able to persevere, and the strength and resilience they've shown in this incarnation. So it can be a beautiful placement with time, usually not in the beginning of life, though, in regards to second house things. So that was all the planets. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, you relate to anything, you have any questions, please comment down below. We're going to be doing all 12 houses. So subscribe if you want to follow the journey and continue learning with me. And we also went through all the planets in previous videos. Went through all the houses, fully describing them in previous videos. So check those out. In the next video, we're doing the third house. Cheers.